I totally agree with that, and that's actually also a really good, way to illustrate that, that comparison. Absolutely.
So I'd like to go ahead and maybe bust a few myths right now. Now, my first statement / question here is, do you need an expensive mic to work professionally? And you both touched upon that a little while ago, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
The microphone, to me, is the third most important thing in the chain. So, you don't have to have an expensive microphone to work professionally. What you really need is the ability to deliver and communicate copy effectively, first and foremost. Yeah. Then you need a space, an environment that can also work can sound professional, because the microphone is really the third most important thing in that chain. So, if you were to give a lower quality microphone to somebody who's been doing this for 20 years, and they can probably get a pretty good sound out of it, and they'll still be able to communicate that message effectively to where, there's a reason why some people, when they're on the road, travel with a little Apogee USB mic, and actually some of the things that they do go to air with that microphone. And it's because they know what they're doing. So, that's the real issue lies is that when newer people to the business think that they can get away with a cheaper, less expensive microphone, they quickly realize that, they think it's a cheap microphone, but it's not really that part of it that's making them less effective. It's that they haven't had all the other stuff in between and a good quality room to work in.
Yeah, and would it be fair to say that the microphone in that list of three is a distant third as well, behind those first two? I mean, it's a long way down compared to the room and the performance. But sorry, Emmett, you were going to pick up on something.
As both of you know, and I think a lot of people know, I'm a big proponent of using quality gear. But as far as being absolutely necessary, not at all. The highest paying voice job I've ever done was a mic that I would never have chosen for myself if I had another option. So it's much more about the work and the performance, the room that it's in. At the same time, a good mic behind a good room and a good performance can make that performance easier, or allow it to come through better, I guess is probably a better way to put it.
Shine.
Right. A great mic doesn't make a great performance. It will capture a bad performance or a good performance. But with all things created equal, if the performance is great, a great mic will capture it a little bit better.
There's a lot of hyperbole about the difference between an expensive mic and a cheap mic. I wonder is there any way to articulate in practice how much of an improvement, getting that U87 plugged in versus like an NT1, how much of an improvement that's going to make? Because it's not as much of a difference as a lot of people think it is.
It's pretty interesting. I feel like that in the last decade or so, we've seen a proliferation of lower cost microphones that do sound really good from major manufacturers, in addition to boutique manufacturers and guys who also will mod, cheaper microphones into more expensive sounding microphones. Yeah. So my feeling is that, you can certainly find, if you're willing to put in the time and the search and use your ears to find the right combination. There are plenty of microphones out there that are around the $300 price point or so that you're not necessarily going to notice $700 worth of difference between that microphone and a $1,000 microphone. Yeah. There might be some differences, some subtle differences, but it may not be worth $700 of difference.
I agree completely. And I guess that $700 difference depends hugely on where you are in your career and how important those fine details are to you. There's the law of diminishing returns. The more you spend, the less the improvement.